o'clock, so let's call the meeting to order. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And our first agenda item is public audience. So Joan, would you like to go first?
Okay, I have to move the mic over. Okay. Joan Coe, 26 Whitcomb Drive. At my request under the Freedom of Information Act, I received grievances from employees in the Sewer Department, Public Works Department, Recreation Department, and the Police Department. The Sewer Department employee had frequent accidents that was not acceptable. The Highway Department employee was suspended with 5 days suspension without pay. The Recreation Department employee was notified that, quote, her position with the town is being eliminated effective July 5th, 2019. This grievance questions whether the town properly notified the grievant, the impending layoff, whether the town intends to fraction work in a manner that violates the contract, and more generally whether the town is permitted to eliminate the grievance position, end quote. The same employee filed another grievance stating that, I quote, grievant was discriminated against on the basis of her sex, specifically because of pregnancy, childbirth, and/or related medical conditions, such as expressing milk at work, in violation of the contract's Article 16 and the Pregnancy Discrimination Act of 1978 of federal law and Connecticut's Act concerning pregnant women in the workplace, end quote. If these allegations are true, this would place the town with significant liability. 2 sergeants in the Simsbury Police Department filed grievances in response to identical reprimands that they received. Both sergeants were working in the 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. shift. Sergeant Corcoran and Sergeant Sewell were both long-term sergeants in the midnight shift without any reprimands or grievances. Why was there a drastic change in the workplace when Sergeant Trombley replaced Sergeant Sewell after his retirement? Both Sergeant Corcoran and Sergeant Trombley were reprimanded for, quote, neglect of duty, insubordination, and incompetence, end quote. All other shifts without incident? What triggered this response at the midnight shift? Sergeant Sewell headed the midnight shift for decades, while Sergeant Corcoran was trained under the guidance of Sergeant Sewell for many years without any issues. After Sergeant Sewell retired, Sergeant Trombley worked with Sergeant Corcoran without incident. Why has the midnight shift become a rogue organization? Are there different standards for A shift, 7 a.m. to 3 p.m., and B shift, 3 p.m. to 11 p.m.? Could this be retribution? On Friday, July 12th, the Simsbury Meadows Performing Arts Center, PAC, promoted another concert where there was once again parking in the commuter parking lot with signs directing concert attendees to use the commuter parking lot illegally. I spoke with a person at the DOT who told me that Simsbury police should ticket the cars for illegal parking. Nobody was ticketed, although the parking lot was full. Henry James Junior High's parking lot had a few cars. All cars should be directed to the shuttle service at the junior high. This has not been done. Why can the PAC encourage illegal activity? On Saturday, July 13th, the PAC was erecting the addition to the barn at Simsbury Meadows. It appeared that all workers were volunteers from the board of directors of the PAC. Beer and cold drinks were supplied to the volunteers. Does the town inspect the addition for compliance to the building code? And this is the picture I took at the Simsbury Meadows. I recently brought to the Board of Selectmen's attention the blighted barn on Simsbury Triangle on Bondor Hills, Firetown Road. This barn is one of many of the barns that are blighted throughout the town, and I would suggest that the zoning enforcement officer inventory all the barns in town for compliance to Simsbury's blight regulations. The Parks and Recreation Department is working on a master plan to identify the needs of the community. The focus groups, as usual, will be attended by all of the special interest groups, while the needs of the outsiders will be ignored. Several pickleball players have asked for the pickleball lines to be painted on the Simsbury Farms courts, as this sport has grown in popularity. As of this date, there was resistance from a contract tennis employee, and no lines were painted. The golfers insist on continuing with the town management of a facility that lost money year after year.
30 seconds, Joan.
There have been I have a couple of things to say. There have been suggestions to have management, the golf course contracted to management group. Buying power reduces costs. The PAC was not only taken over by Simsbury's Meadows, but has detoured traffic on Iron Horse Boulevard, used private parking for attendees to the events, and the businesses in town are affected by their lots from the PAC without parking for their customers. This is not economic development. The bicycle group has hijacked the process with miles of trails for bicyclists, no rails for trails for economic
5 minutes,
development.
Joan.
I have no confidence that the master plan will reflect the needs of the community over special interest groups, and all of my comments will be posted on Simsbury Patch, Twitter at Joan Co., and newsfeed on Facebook. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Joan. Anyone else in public audience? Mr. Couchman?
Yes.
Robert Kalishman, Simsbury. The reason I'm here, the main reason I'm here tonight, I noticed on your agenda that we're having a public gathering permit that I assume the town is going to pay for, and the personnel from the town, whatever costs involved here, the town will pay for. And they'll be giving away, I assume, ice cream social, free ice cream. And this is all going to be done by a politically connected Representative Hampton. I don't see, I just want to remind you, if this was done on Election Day and you were handing out free beer, you would go to jail. This is not any different. The only difference being is beer is alcohol and ice cream is ice cream. And I can dovetail it too and say ice cream is very dangerous or detrimental to the health of someone with diabetes. I want to know why taxpayers' money is being charged this and why he's doing it on public property. It's a political event. And the big thing that troubles me is I can understand it coming from the Democratic Party, but I can't understand the Republican Party going along with it because the Republican Party undoubtedly will have a candidate running for first selectman. I'm running for first selectman. My credentials have been approved by the Secretary of State and is on file with the clerk, the town clerk. I have filed a section Form 1 stating that I'm only going to be spending my own money. And what I'd like to know is Mr. Hampton filed one of these, and has the Democratic Party filed one? Because they're giving money away, and I want to know why. You can't, if he's going to take the money, at least it should be on record at the town clerks that he's taking it. And from what I heard earlier, whether there's any validity to it or not, I don't know. But what I heard earlier, he doesn't have caucus. He hasn't been approved by the town committee. He hasn't been approved at the town convention, and he's running. Has to be approved by the Secretary of State. I'm approved by the Secretary of State. I couldn't go to an ice cream social if I didn't have approval of the Secretary of State. Why is he given special treatment? And the other thing that troubles me, I'm concerned about what's going on with the town manager. We said it's going to be an improvement. Is it really? Because I noticed with the town-owned property, it's going downhill. Case in point, when you leave here tonight, go by Hot Meadow Street, and when you come to Owensbrook, across from Simsbury Bank, there's an empty lot. That lot is owned by the town of Simsbury. It used to be kept up pretty good. Now it's not being kept up. It's running very bad. And what we have there is we have more animals going in there than usual that normally wouldn't go in there because they could see the street. Now with the trees and the overgrowth and the grass, it's almost waist deep. You can't see in there anymore. And the animals are coming down in there. Now, there's two things. We have bears that come in, and let me go on record. I don't think anything should be done about the bears. We're very fortunate to be able to see wildlife. When I was a young man, I can't remember ever seeing a deer.
30 seconds, Mr. Calisman.
I never saw a bear, and what I'm trying to say is that has to be cleaned up. And the reason it has to be cleaned up, not for my safety, I can take care of myself, but for the safety of the youngsters that are going down there and playing. And there's young youngsters below 6 years old that are wandering down into those lots. And there's snakes and God knows what else.
5 minutes, Mr. Calisman.
Okay. And the only other thing I like to say is that as a disclaimer, I'm running for first selectman. It's been approved. I'll be on the ballot. I assume after they get done throwing me around, I'll end up on C because I'm not even treated fairly on that. The Democrats and the Republicans, they grab everything, and even though I'm an accepted candidate, I'm treated like a dog. And that's all I have to say. And what do you intend to do about it?
Thank you, Mr. Calisman. All right, first agenda item is fiscal year 1920 Youth Services Bureau Grant and Enhance Grant. And Maria, do you want to set this up, or?
Sure. So this is a long-standing grant that we have received. We were recently notified that this grant, the management of it, is being transferred to a different state agency, and they gave us less than 3 weeks turnaround time to submit the grant application. The grant application has to be received by certified mail by July 22nd, not postmarked by. So with that tight time frame, and given that approximately at least $10,000 is on the table, again, we planned for this grant, we budgeted for this grant. With the charter requirement that the Board of Selectmen approves grant applications, Bob thought it would be prudent to have you authorize submittal of this grant application. So due to the time-sensitive nature of it, we are just asking you this evening to authorize submitting that longstanding grant application.
Any questions? John?
State of Connecticut not have email?
Yes,
You don't have to answer that.
Not a trick question.
Should we send it carrier pigeon or
Yeah.
courier? Or, okay. Always amazes me the archaic bureaucracy that we go through. Okay. But I mean, we've done this every year. I've been on the board and then some. So this is an awesome program that really benefits the kids in our community overall. So makes sense to me.
I do have one small question. And I know we talked about this, but I don't know if it got resolved in this grant application because I couldn't see where it was. But the NARCAN distribution money, is that now going to go through you, or is it going to be out now?
Well, we don't actually have a firm answer on that, to be honest with you. And I have brought with me today Kristen Calvin, for those of you that have not met her yet. Kristen is going to be working with me to manage these grants. And the NARCAN purchase used to be covered under what was the ERASE grant and the HISAC grant. And now they've joined forces with North Central Regional Mental Health Board to form, now it's going to be called Amplify. We have been told that we can no longer purchase NARCAN under that grant, that they're moving more towards preventative measures rather than purchasing NARCAN. So what we are proposing is in our enhanced grant to put the money in there, purchase the NARCAN.
Yeah, I saw that you put it in there. I was wondering if that's how we were going to handle that.
That's how we're hoping to handle that. We had gotten both grants on July, I think it was the 3rd that they were released to us. And then in the interim, we were informed that the state was pulling the application for the enhanced grant. But if we had already submitted it, we could still submit it, and they'll be re-releasing it sometime in the future months. So my apologies, I don't have a really good answer for you.
That's
but
okay,
That's
I'm
the best
just-
answer I've been given.
Well, because it makes so much sense to me that the state would pull funding for the one thing that saves lives when somebody's having an overdose.
So,
Does that mean we have to
Just saying.
contingent with that then? For planning that the state, that the administrative bureaucracy, you know, we play football and we just can't figure it out, and then we have to, you know, wrestle with
it's
the Board of
so
Finance to
important. I
find.
just wanna
how
make
much
sure we
whatever,
cover it.
whatever.
Well, there's two pieces to it. It's-
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah, no, please go ahead, go ahead.
The purchase of the NARCAN for the police department, which was what we've always traditionally done, that was under the old erase
the old
grant,
grant, yeah.
which we're being told that we can't use that grant for that now. So what we kind of tried to do was just shuffle our coconut shells a little bit and put some other preventative measures under the KSAC grant that we hope will be approved, and put the NARCAN in this grant. And then also, we may be looking at trying to provide another NARCAN training dependent on grant funding.
Thank you. No, I know that it makes
But
absolutely no
absent-
sense. No
So,
sense.
absent all that bureaucracy actually working, do we have to then have a contingent that we need to?
Sure. If
Budget for it.
Yeah, if ultimately the grant funding isn't received, we could definitely identify other sources of revenue to cover that cost. We do have a number of special revenue funds in the police department that I think could
Okay.
absorb that cost potentially, or the social worker contingency fund is another possibility. So we do have some fallback options if the grants do fall through.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Mike.
I'm disappointed again with the state to, at the last second, pull this literally, because as this board has talked about, the NARCAN piece of this puzzle is literally life and death to a number of people. Whether you approve of it or not, it keeps people alive. And I personally am supportive, one way or the other. What we need to do as a town, we're gonna do. But to change the rules at the last minute, I've never been a big fan of. But I'm gonna support this and whatever else we've gotta do.
Any other questions, comments? If not, I need a motion effective July 15th, 2019 to approve submitting applications for the Youth Service Bureau grant and the Youth Service Bureau Enhanced grant, and to authorize Maria E. Capriola, Town Manager, to execute the attached Youth Service Bureau and Enhanced grant applications.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? All who approve, say aye.
Aye.
Any against, say nay. So carried. Agenda item number 2 is a public gathering permit request for Representative John Hampton and an ice cream social on the green in Terriffill. We have the information in front of us. Any questions, any comments? I don't know, Maria, if you want to set this up at all, or if it speaks for itself.
I think it might be good to clarify a couple of things based on public audience comments, so.
Sure, I'd be happy to introduce the item. So we've received a public gathering request from our state representative, John Hampton. He would like to use the Terriffill gazebo on the Terriffill Green on Saturday, July 20th. He's expecting about 25 to 50 individuals to attend. He will be providing prepackaged ice cream. This is not a town event. Town dollars will not be used for it. And this is not an event of our current First Selectmen. Again, just to clarify, this is a request of our state representative, John Hampton. Again, this is just to approve the public gathering permit request. There were no issues noted during the review process for this particular application.
And just be clear, this is no different than if any other citizen of the town came in and asked to use the
Asked for the
space to
same space.
distribute ice cream.
Mhm.
Yep. Any other questions, comments?
What kind of ice cream?
Prepackaged.
All right,
it
so I
says.
need a motion effective July 15th,
The
2019.
Strawberry chocolate, vanilla,
To-
what do you think?
To approve the public gathering application for the offices of State Rep. John Hampton to host an ice cream social at the Terriffill Gazebo on July 20th, 2019, as presented, and to authorize the issuance of the public gathering permit.
So moved.
Second?
Second?
Thanks, Mike.
Oh, I thought you were seconding. That's why I was.
Any further conversation? If not, all who approve, say aye.
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 Any against, say nay. So carried.
Thank you.
That's our last agenda item.
Move to adjourn.
A motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second?
Second? All who approve, say aye.
Aye.
Against, say nay. So done. Thank you.
Thank you, Kristen.